Hello and welcome to another edition of Oxford News This Week. Some of our stories twice in one lifetime, hard to believe. Oxford Hoops and Sports, and in a new segment called Our Last Story, it's all about love. That and more on this special edition of Oxford News This Week. Welcome back to another edition of Oxford News This Week. And yes, all of us are trying to process of what took place on that Monday evening just a few days ago at Michigan State University. Students continue to process at what's going on with the mass shooting. Many still feeling very uneasy about returning to campus next week. Students have just begun again to process that tragedy. For those who have experienced it before, it's an reopening of wounds. Junior Sophia Miller was right across from Berkey Hall when the shooting started on Monday night. She was an Oxford High School graduate when, of course, our tragedy happened on November 30th, of course, taking 4 of her classmates and injuring others. Miller said she felt helpless after another tragedy. Michigan State students have the rest of the week off and are to return coming up on Monday. On Tuesday, Miller did say she's supposed to have a class at Berkey Hall. Now with 3 students dead and 5 more in critical condition, she's worried about going back to class next week. Jumping out to the township of Oxford and some of the business going on in that area. At the February meeting of the Oxford Township Board of Trustees, 3 petitions were submitted by local medical marijuana facilities requesting an ordinance change to allow them to sell recreational marijuana in the township. The petitioners state that because recreational marijuana is legal elsewhere, medical marijuana facilities are in decline as they need more medical marijuana cards from the state of Michigan. And that have actually become obsolete. Greg Yatuma of the Frequency Wellness Group of Bloomfield Hills spoke to the board about how medical marijuana business has drastically changed since the adult use recreational marijuana was legalized.
The way that the state of Michigan adopted cannabis was quite arguably like one of the worst in the state of Michigan, how it was done through ballot initiatives and through a lot of political wrangling. So it's several laws kind of smashed together. And so it is not meant to be efficient. It is not meant to be effective. The way it's set up is just wrong. It eventually is going to be cleaned up. It is something our governor is working on to kind of clean it up to make a single license. But until then, it's created this issue within municipalities where they have to be medical or adult use, and there's this implied stigma of adult use that really doesn't exist anymore. The cannabis market is 10% of medical. It used to be 95%. It's not a matter of the fact that you have other people using the product as much as you have people not necessarily needing to get a card anymore.
Mr. Yachuma also stressed that other medical marijuana facilities using in Southfield, as an example, are also experiencing a drastic decline in business.
A real-life example is the city of Southfield. They only have medical. They allowed 4 shops. 3 of them are closed. They opened and they closed. And there's one at 12 Mile and Telegraph that I passed by. Brand new facility, wasn't a single car in the parking lot, because they can go north or south and get infinitely more product selection and allow 90% more people into the building.
Township Treasurer Joe Ferrari voiced an opinion that since the adult use recreational marijuana business is growing so fast, that there is no point in changing the ordinance at this time.
I've been following this marijuana stuff for the state. It's been predicted that medical marijuana will go by the wayside. I think it'll also change again once Detroit gets in the market. It's all going to change. Even though we've got 3 permitted, if this doesn't come back here till June, I don't expect all 3 of them to be built. I mean, the market's changing every day. And you're seeing now with Detroit coming in with cultivating, growing, and selling. What's going to happen is people go down to Detroit to a ball game, casino, whatever, go around and get their product and come back. You're going to see a huge consolidation. I predict that probably to the middle of the end of this year, if these guys aren't built before June, I don't expect many to get built.
Oxford Township Attorney Ellis explained that the procedure council would have to take is as simple as an ordinance amendment.
The procedure would be a simple ordinance amendment. What you would do is you would pass it, the zoning ordinance would go to your planning commission, for public hearing. What it would be is if you hold a current medical retailer license, you may opt into recreational. The reason why that's advantageous is because you've already selected those locations that work for retail for this community, and it would just be a continuation of that use.
The ordinance amendment passed 5-2 with Treasurer Ferrari and Clerk Wright voting no on that possibility. For the 5th year in a row, the North Oakland VFW Post 334 adopted a shelf at the Oxford Orient Fish. It was on February 9th. The group presented a check of $1,200 to Fish Food Pantry, adopting a shelf program. This Adopt a Shelf program purchases food items to stock on the shelves each month during the year with the donated funds. VFW Post 334 supports the pasta sauce shelf. Volunteers take purchased items and place them on the shelves throughout the building, which is like a small grocery store. Everyone involved in Fish are volunteers from the community. The Oxford Orient Fish Food Pantry provides groceries for people who need help, who currently live in the Lake Orion, Oxford, Addison, and Oakland Township area. Food provided per the size of each family and can range from 60 to 200 pounds per month. For those in need of services who want to join an Adopt a Shelf program, you can contact Fish at 248-628-3933 or visit oxfordorientfish.org to get more information. The Oxford Orient Fish Food Pantry is located at 1060 South Lapeer Road, Oxford. For more information about the VFW Post, you can call them, Post Commander Jim Hubbard. His number there, 248-496-1213. Everyone who knew Helen Smith knew she was a tireless advocate and an all-around champion for the things in Oxford, especially the youth of Oxford. Smith was a character member of the Oxford Wildcat Booster Club, and as part of the Oxford Wildcats Athletic Hall of Fame, there's a scholarship in her name at Oxford High School, given every year to the most outstanding female athlete. After graduating from high school in 1952 and then heading to Michigan State College, now Michigan State University, Smith returned home to Oxford in '54 and helped run the family business. The Oxford Smith Silo Company. This past summer, Oxford residents will have a new pocket park in which to play, exercise, gather, relax, and spend some quality time. Very close to Mrs. Smith was C.J. Carnacchio, the Oxford Township Communications and Grant Coordinator. The project was a labor of love and fitting tribute to Smith. He and Smith were friends from the time they met in 1999 until her death in 2015. The 2,400 square foot pocket park will be constructed on the grounds of Oxford Township Hall between the parking lot and safety path along Dunlop Road. The park will include 3 pieces, ADA accessible play equipment for kids, 2 accessible exercise stations for adults and teens, and an accessible pedestal table for bike repair. Again, an 8-foot park bench and the ADA complement engineered wood fiber surface. Sinclair Recreation LLC will install the Game Time brand equipment. Total cost of the project, $96,695, and yes, 25 cents. Carnacchio said the design park was secured a $58,750 cash donation and an $11,000 plus in-kind donation from the 29 local businesses, organizations, or individuals to pay for a park. A $20,000 plus grant from the 4-County Community Foundation completed the funding needed to start the park. Carnacchio credits the Oxford Township Supervisor, Jack Curtis, with supporting the project from the start. He hopes to have the park on the ground by summer. Once the park is completed, there will be a grand opening dedication, a ribbon cutting ceremony with all the donors, township staff, and public invited. And then the kids will have the opportunity to break in the new park. Carnacchio also believes that the park is a perfect way to honor Smith's commitment to the Oxford youth. At one end of the park, near the safety path along Dunlop Road, there will be a 2,000-pound boulder with a bronze plaque with Smith's photo and a brief biography. Hopefully it'll serve as an inspiration for others in the community. Oxford Township Supervisor Jack Curtis visited the Congresswoman Lisa McLean at her new district office in downtown Lake Orion. He presented her with some beautiful photos of Oxford as an office warming gift. The Congresswoman's office is located at 30 North Broadway Street and the building that previously housed the Lake Orion Review for many years. Once again, we welcome her to our new district, her new district. Roxy, a 6-year-old rescue dog, is now a therapy dog. Stopped by the Township Hall to get her license. She was with her handler, Oxford resident Jan Britton. Jan adopted Roxy from Oxford-based K9 Stray Rescue League about 4 years ago. Roxy spends a lot of time visiting schools, listening to young children read aloud and snuggle and hug her. Roxy's presence provides comfort and builds confidence because she never criticizes or corrects the readers. She just listens and loves. When she's not working, Roxy enjoys going on walks on the Pollyann Trail. Dog licenses are now available and always available at the Oxford Township Treasurer Counter through June 1st. Township Hall is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. For more information, you can visit the Oxford Township website at oxfordtownship.org. Also, Daniel Oxford Elementary, first graders in the elementary Jessica Bula's classroom celebrated Valentine's Day. And a fancy Nancy party. Many students dressed up for the occasion. They wore everything from tuxedos to tiaras. After enjoying a nice little buffet that included donuts, fresh fruit, the kids made feather pens and then exchanged Valentine's Day cards and treats and other mini trinkets. Happy Valentine's Day to them. With that, I'm going to take a slight break. Dave Kenny's got a few segments. I got a lengthy sportscast, and we are starting a new segment here called The Last Story. Stay there. Don't go away. You're watching Oxford News This Week.
For a place, a people, an idea, for right and freedom, for liberty and justice for all. For every square inch between fruited plains and spacious skies. Marines fight to win. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from Automotive News. In our first story, sibling automakers Hyundai Motor Corporation and Kia said they will offer a software upgrade up to 8.3 million U.S. vehicles in response to increasing thefts targeting vehicles without push-button ignitions and immobilizing anti-theft devices, U.S. auto safety regulators said. Hyundai said it is introducing a free anti-theft software upgrade to prevent the vehicles from starting during a method of theft popularized on TikTok and other social media channels. The upgrade will cover 3.8 million Hyundai and 4.5 million Kia U.S. vehicles, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said. The agency said the effort is in response to a TikTok social media challenge that has spread nationwide and has resulted in at least 14 reported crashes and 8 fatalities. Hyundai, in its statement, said it will also provide its customers with a window sticker alerting would-be thieves that the vehicle is equipped with anti-theft protection. The software updates the theft alarm logic software to extend the length of the alarm sound from 30 seconds to 1 minute and requires the key to be in the ignition switch to turn the vehicle on. The initial Hyundai upgrade will cover more than 1 million 2017 to 2020 Elantra, 2015 to 2019 Sonata, and 2020 to 2021 Venue model year vehicles. The software upgrade is scheduled to be available for remaining eligible affected vehicles by June. And over at Nissan, Nissan North America is recalling more than 460,000 vehicles globally because the driver's side airbag cover emblem might detach during deployment, increasing the risk of injury to vehicle occupants. The recall covers certain 2008 to 2011 Titan, Frontier, Xterra, Pathfinder, and Armada vehicles, as well as 2008 to 2009 Quest vehicles. It affects an estimated over 463,000 vehicles globally, including 404,690 in the U.S., over 17,000 in Canada, and over 6,000 in Mexico, according to Nissan spokesman Stephen O'Neill. The resin emblem on the driver's side airbag covers in the affected vehicles may have reduced durability due to potential Tier 2 supplier production process variation and may develop cracks over time, according to a recall report submitted February 13th to NHTSA. Nissan said it was aware of 4 incidents alleging injury related to the issue. A repair is still under development. Owners with a loose, cracked, or missing emblem should contact their local authorized Nissan dealer for diagnosis. If the inspection deems remedy is needed, a limited number of parts or alternative transportation may be available, O'Neill said in a statement to Automotive News. Swedish supplier Autoliv, one of the world's top airbag and seatbelt makers, produces the driver's side airbag assembly, according to the report. A message seeking comment was left February 14th at Autoliv's North American headquarters in Auburn Hills. Dealers were notified of the recall on February 10th, and letters notifying owners of the safety risk were expected to be mailed out by April 10th. A second letter will be sent once a repair is available. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Welcome back to Oxford News This Week. Time for some sports. Oxford Wrestling defeated by Davison, final score 54-21. This one, the year of Oxford as a team, the strong season by the young Wildcats. 7 individuals are still competing in the state tournament. Saturday tournament in Heartland. Again, go Wildcats. Want to congratulate them on all their endeavors in wrestling. Also, we want to congratulate future wrestlers here. Oxford Middle School Wrestling Scrimmage, Rochester West on last Monday was a great day for competing. At the end of over 100 wrestlers from both teams came together for a group photo. Again, here's the entire photo right here below. Also want to say congratulations to the Oxford skier sophomore Sierra Musial on qualifying for the state. Sierra will be competing at the Shush Mountain on February 27th at States. She qualified for both giant slalom and slalom. Great job, Sierra. Tell you, I tried skiing once, not my sport. Last night, the boys swim and dive team fell to the Rochester Falcons in the crossover meet. The final score, Rochester 115, Oxford 70. Junior captains Liam Pearson and Olin Chardstrom remain undefeated in individual events. However, Oxford did lose the contest or the meet. Boys hoop action. Boys varsity defeated Adams 46-28. This drops to a 10-7 on the year. The boys are back in action again coming up on Friday. They make a take on Royal Oak on the road. It was in the league game. Go Wildcats. From the gold division in that undefeated boys basketball, Harper Woods still remains at the top. 5-0, undefeated, took out the Wildcats in an out-of-conference game in that blue division. Athens stands at 6-3, Berkeley 6-3, Oxford 5-3, Birmingham Seaholm 5-3, Royal Oak 4-4, Rochester 2-7, and Stony Creek at 2-7. Those games also all can be seen here on OCTV. Varsity girls win. Oxford girls varsity basketball defeated the OLSM by a score of 53-30 to improve the 16-3 on the year in a complete 3-game program sweep. Miranda Winemko led the team with a 20 points. Girls are back in action again Thursday at Troy Athens. Again, that'll be a home game. OAA White Division girls basketball shows the undefeated North Farmington, that powerful team, at 11-0. Oxford at a close second at 10-1. Berkeley at 7-5. Harper Woods at 7-5. Royal Oak at 5-6. 3-8 go to Athens. 2-9. Most of these games again are all seen here on OCTV. Congratulations to Miranda Winemko as being awarded the Oxford High School Athlete of the Month for the month of, well, it was January. It was a great season. The Oxford varsity girls basketball team led by the captain, number 15, Miranda, as they sit at the top, 16-3 overall, 10-1 in the OAA White. Miranda is averaging 13.4 points per game, and in the season, 13.1 points per game clip of the month of January in the 8 games she was in. She has scored double figures at 13 out of 19 games. Again, we want to congratulate her as the Athlete of the Month for January. We'll have February's coming up real soon. Oxford Lady basketball doing really well. That wraps it in sport. Dave's got one more segment. I'll be back with the last story, and we'll say goodbye. You're watching Oxford News This Week.
Hello, this is Lomas Brown, ex-Detroit Lion, and you're watching OCTV. That's Oxford Community TV. Check it out.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and this story is taken from New Scientist. Genetic variants that some people have inherited from their Neanderthal and Denisovan ancestors may increase the odds that they are morning rather than evening people. This was really exciting to us and not expected, says Tony Capra at the University of California in San Francisco. Neanderthals and Denisovans passed on DNA that increased our morningness, and this has been retained in modern human population. Following a split from our common ancestor with archaic humans such as Neanderthals and Denisovans around 700,000 years ago, our species spent hundreds of thousands of years evolving in Africa, while other archaic humans adapted to higher latitude regions across Europe and Asia. Around 50,000 years ago, and perhaps much earlier, some members of our species migrated into Asia and Europe, where they interbred with other species of humans. As a result, Neanderthal DNA makes up 2% of the genome in people of European or Asian descent, and Denisovan DNA comprises up to 5% of the genome in people from Papua New Guinea. Previous studies have revealed that genetic variants from Neanderthals and Denisovans gave some modern humans higher fertility, a stronger immune response against certain harmful microbes, or a better tolerance for low oxygen levels at high altitudes. Capra and his colleagues wondered if archaic DNA may have affected the evolution of our circadian clocks, which set the rhythm of our sleep-wake cycles and are driven by dozens of genes. The researchers compared the genomes of 3 Neanderthals and 1 Denisovan with those of thousands of modern humans, 80% of whom were of European descent. They found that of the genetic variants that the modern humans had inherited from archaic humans, more were linked to regulating their circadian clock than would be expected by chance. This suggested there was a survival benefit to inheriting them. People with these variants from archaic humans were more likely to describe themselves as being a morning person. That doesn't mean that being a morning person is itself advantageous, says Capra. People with these variants might have a biological clock that responds more quickly to changes in light-dark cycles, which may be beneficial for living at high altitudes. Faster clocks help other species, like fruit flies, adapt to higher latitudes where there is a higher seasonal variation in light-dark cycles and ultraviolet exposure, says Capra. We think it was the same case for Homo sapiens. That's us. Adapting more quickly to seasonal changes may have given health benefits that could explain why the archaic genetic variants were kept in our DNA, he adds. Our metabolism, our activity levels, our immune system are all tied in various ways to the circadian rhythm. So when our rhythms are more likely to be out of alignment with the environment, all of those processes may work less well, says Capra. One limitation of the study is that it only included 4 archaic genomes, but this is what was available, he says. The study also focused on modern humans of European ancestry, so further work should look at more diverse populations, he adds. This is an interesting and well-done study, but the relationship between our DNA and traits can be complex, says Joshua Akey at Princeton University. I think the authors have made a compelling case that should be studied more in detail. In future, Capra's team hopes to insert archaic genetic variants into human cells to investigate how they affect circadian clocks at a molecular level. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, Canine Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
And welcome back to a new segment. We're going to call it The Last Story. Valentine's Day, so close the other day. Bill and Ro Van Wagner have been together for, 70 years. Here's their story. On December 5th of 1956, the Oxford Leader wedding announcement was published. Mr. and Mrs. George William Van Wagner. Double ring ceremony, Mrs. Rosalind Francis, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Donald Francis of Oxford, and George William Van Wagner, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ray Van Wagner of Lake Orion, were married again this past Saturday at the Oxford Methodist Church. The new Mrs. Van Wagner, a graduate of Oxford High School and Eastern Michigan College, is presently teaching 5th grade at Big Rapids. Van Wagner is attending Ferris Institute. George William, Bill, was the nephew, and Lee Van Wagner, who owned the pharmacy at the corner of Washington and Burdick Streets. Rosalind was in there as well, was the daughter of Oxford Police Chief Don Francis, and she happened to work at the pharmacy despite him living in the crosstown rival of Lake Orion. Her living in Oxford, they eventually met, they started dating, and then while they were in high school, both graduated in 1950. While in college, they would see each other whenever they could. When Bill was drafted by the United States Army and sent to Korea, they kept in touch with letters. In 2016, Oxford Leader ran a report. Rose said they were married at the Oxford Methodist Church on East Burdick Street before a gathering of 200 family members and friends. They have spent a few years of marriage living in Big Rapids, followed by Kalamazoo, and then they moved back to Oxford to build a house on Pocahontas Trail, near the village limits. Living there until recently, they are now together at Independence Village. Roe taught elementary school at Oxford. Bill retired from the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. They raised 2 sons, Bruce, who lives in Hadley, and Neil, who now lives in California. They have 4 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. After retirement, they traveled the country in their RV. Their biggest trip was to the Alaskan Highway back in 1992. Love flourishes with that story. Hey, we thank the news gathering source of the Oxford Leader, Oxford Township Facebook. Also, photo credits go to CJ Carnacchio and the Oxford Leader. OCTV can be viewed on Spectrum Charter Channel 191, Channel 99 on the AT&T Hoover system, YouTube and Rumble and Facebooks, and also you can download Roku and watch OCTV programming there. OCTV is available to local groups for producing public service announcements. If you have a show idea and you want to volunteer, give our office a call, 248-628-9658. Thanks to producer-director today, Joe Hollywood Calhoun, videographer Al Campbell, our editor, of course, Marissa. We also want to thank program coordinator Dan Zweiss, program director Connie Miller, and station manager Terry Stiles. For everyone at OCTV, I'm Jim Hughes, hoping you have a safe and pleasant week. Say a prayer for the Michigan State students and all the Sparty Nation. I invite you back next time. And again, we will take a look at Oxford News This Week.